Let's go.
Wednesday afternoon.
But as often said in the Premier League these days, there's very few, if any, easy games. I mean, it's a tough league, probably the most competitive league in the world, which is why it's beamed around the world every Saturday and Sunday. I mean, it is probably the most watched sport in the world, with billions of people looking at it. So it's an excellent product. And you know, as you know, I go to Palace to the home games and some away games, a few away games, and every week when we're at home, you see the huge, great trucks with the satellite equipment. And I was reading a thing the other day by someone who did a sort of a commentary at the end of the game. I don't think he was one of the players, but he was very close to them. And how they finished, they warmed down. You know, they run to warm down rather than warm up. And the stadium gets quiet and empty, and you think, you know, half an hour ago it was a buzz with all the noise and cheering and whatever from the fans, and that atmosphere suddenly isn't there. And then he said that he then saw just outside the gates of the ground these huge, great trucks, these great lorries carrying massive, you know, basically radar equipment, all of the satellite stuff. Away, and it's a massive operation at every ground every week. And I think we tend, why would we think about that? I just noticed the huge trucks, 3 or 4 of them every time I go there before a game, but we don't tend to think of the great technical marvel that it all is. I don't know, I'm going off at a bit of a tangent, but I'm always impressed is probably doesn't really do it, but when there's a thing the cameras want to focus in on, they can focus in on that bad tackle or whatever from about 3, 4, 5 different cameras, and they get almost into the players' legs. I mean, it's phenomenal, the skill with which these producers on these television matches, all sports I expect, but with football, you know, the analysis and the ability to, you know, zoom in to where the piece of action they want to analyse, it's fantastic. And the technology around the Premier League, and of course all sports these days, is phenomenal. And I think it's nice that we should appreciate that, really. And it should make the VAR ref and his assistants make their job easier, and it must do, because of the brilliant camera angles. But I mean, that's another thing. But no, I think Premier League football is a great product. It's a great thing, and anyone who's never been to a Premier League match, they should at least do it once as one of their bucket list jobs, because you do get this electric atmosphere, you know, in virtually all the grounds, and it's quite. You feel part of it. You feel part of, you know, an entity. You're Palace fans or you're Man City fans. And okay, it's very tribal. You get a lot of things you wouldn't say necessarily, or you hear a lot of things you wouldn't want to hear normally. You know, it's the number of times that a linesman is given some advice as to what they might like to do with their flag if they made a wrong offside decision or something. But it is tribal. You still get the occasional sort of wag, you know, humour. Someone shouts something out which is actually really funny. So it's a great afternoon's entertainment. It really is. And
It is.
I would commend that to anyone, just to go along one week, get a ticket, go along and see a Premier League football match, because if you're into football, it will grab you, and you might want to go and do it much more often. Or I have to say as well, that the women's game, I mean, Palace women, they're not doing so well at the moment, but I hope they pick up. But there's great atmospheres at the women's games as well, and not least you get perhaps a lot more youngsters. You get youngsters at the Premier League games, but a lot more youngsters, a lot of girls come along to the games. I used to go and see Brighton women at the Crawley ground where they play some of their home matches. And there's great atmosphere, really great atmosphere, that just the whole thing. So football is the world's most favourite and watched sport. So we should be probably proud of that as something else that came from Britain, from England, I think, originally. They used to have about 50 a side in the street, and that's how it all kind of started many years ago. But it's a great game. It's the simple concepts of kicking this ball into a net at the other end of the pitch, and we should sometimes see it as for what it is, a very simple.
Saw Femi and the ladies, Dr. Gladys and Phantom and Rose. We all have a lovely show every weekday, so join us for a lovely show.
Say hello to Phantom, Dr. Glass.
And we should sometimes see it as for what it is, a very simple game. Okay, a bit complicated when you put in the offside rule and stuff like that, but the object of the game is very simple, very simple. Yeah. And it's a great. Do you think when that ball goes over the line into the goal, the atmosphere of the crowd, the excitement, the noise, all because a little bit of leather had been smacked into a goal. But it's something. It's a bit like the old the Romans, isn't it? It's the gladiators. You're watching these few people on a pitch, all around, thousands, loads and loads of people, and it's just a spectacle which appeals to human nature. Gone off point there a bit, but there we are. You get my drift, I'm sure. That's what I do, isn't it?
Yeah. You can just tell that football runs in your veins. It just runs through your veins and everything.
Yeah, I love it. I loved it as a boy. I used to play for my primary school, and my first kit was a Wolves kit. I'm not sure why my parents bought that. Probably I wanted it because it was like gold in colour and stuff. And I've always, I can to this day, when I see Wolves on the television or occasionally at Palace, it's still a huge association that, although I had no connection with them as a club or a place, that was my first football kit, and I loved that football kit. I've tried to get a retro one, but I've never been able to find one that was the sort of one I had. But yeah, Premier League football per se is a game. I can watch football on a Sunday afternoon in a park with some guys playing. I just love watching the football. I love it. And I used to love playing. I played for, in my career in finance, I played for the team. It had 9 teams, and I got up to about the 2s over time, and I tended to play in the 3s. The top team was the 1s, obviously, and it was quite a good standard. But I played probably 5-6 years or a bit more, and even the Saturday afternoons in the mud and the rain and stuff, it was something else. And it was just unless you've done it, you can't really appreciate how magical it is to get covered in mud playing on a muddy pitch. It's just wonderful, really wonderful.
Football is a beautiful game. Yeah, I mean,
a beautiful game.
I played quite a lot of football growing up. Yeah, it's a beautiful game. I love it. It just lifts your mood. It gives you. It's a beautiful game. It's a beautiful game, football. Yeah. So
it's one of those things also where, just to say, I mean, I was going through. Paul, my son, his garage is full of stuff. Sometimes my stuff as well. And I was going through it the other day, and I found 4 footballs, which I think one of them Paul bought me for Christmas one year. It was like an old football, a retro football from a few years ago. The ones they used to play with years and years ago, where they had a lace up on it and it was brown or black. Very heavy. I mean, footballs nowadays are much lighter. But I found 4 footballs, and I don't know about you, but if I'm out somewhere and there's a ball on the grass, we play. You can't resist it. It gives me the same feeling as suddenly seeing I've got a guitar hanging around somewhere, and I've got so many in my home here. I can always not resist picking up a guitar, and it's the same with the football.
Yeah,
I always want to do some keepy uppies or just kick it. It seems to be an instinct, doesn't it, that a lot of boys, a lot of men, a lot of women nowadays have. They just want to kick that football, and it's magic, really, magic.
Yeah, I was gonna say women nowadays, yeah, they're really into their
Yeah.
football now.
Well,
And
some of them are excellent as well.
oh yeah,
Obviously, the Women's Super League, the standards are very good. I mean,
yeah,
Chelsea seem to be almost running away with it again in the sense they're not losing any games because they got a new manager this season. Um, after Emma, she left to go to
Emma,
America, didn't she? And
is
it's
it
an
Emma
interesting
Hayes?
game, actually. Yeah. The new lady, I forget her name, but she's a French woman, and she seems to be doing, again, the change of managers, as we said about the men, could have had an impact, but they're still playing very, very well. But yeah, I think on the 30th of this month, which is a week's time, next weekend, is it? Whenever the third, no, it's during next week. Emma Hayes is bringing up the USA team because she manages them over to play the England team. So that's going to be quite a good one to watch. I bet that'll be pretty much a full house as well. So that's one to watch on the 30th. So yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good.
I've always been a big fan of Emma Hayes. She's
feisty, and she's what you would say, she's ballsy, isn't she? She's just got that something about her, which again is confident, not to the point of arrogance, I don't think. Yeah. Sometimes that's not a bad thing, but the desire is the desire to win, which is the will to win, not just in sport, but in anything. If you've got that burning desire to achieve, that you're almost halfway there because of that in itself, produces good results, doesn't it?
Yeah. She's just. I mean, mind you, she sort of started it back then when it was mostly dominated by men, and she made that mark. You know what I mean? She made that mark, and So I have great admiration for her, Emma Hayes. Yeah, I do really think. I hope she gets more recognized award-wise. I mean, she did win a Ballon d'Or for best coach this year. I hope she continues on that. Yeah. I was just thinking. So I was just getting back on the Premier League. I was just thinking about last week. I did say about Ruben Amorim. I said, well, I can understand how he's going to do with the big teams because he's a good coach, but what is he going to do about the smaller teams? And it just happened with Ipswich. He had no clue that they were going to be that tough, did he? He just thought, well, right, this is my first game, I'm going to try and impress he did, but now there was a point that you made there. We haven't got that much time left anyway, but there was a point, just quickly, there was a point that you made there. You said, well, it's his first game, and he's just getting into sound out the players and the tactics and all that. But it wasn't the same with Van Nistelrooy. He just got into it and he was winning games.
He was.
So sometimes I think we sort of heap too much praise on somebody based on past success, and there might be perhaps go on.
I mean, I think there's this little difference. Van Nistelrooy was a very good, was he centre forward? He was a striker, wasn't he? At Man United. I mean, he was a bit legendary there, very much a legend, I suppose. So a bit like Ole Solskjaer, who's similar. He was a great player for Man United. When they came back and started their management, and Van Nistelrooy knew this was only a stopgap, a short term, but okay, the players probably would largely have changed since he was there. But I do think it's different for someone who's played there and it's been their life for a few years. They can sort of walk into the place. I mean, Old Trafford hasn't changed that much since Ole or Van Nistelrooy were there. So I think it's slightly different. Okay, there's still the effect of, are you a good coach and how do you approach your first game and so on. But I certainly wouldn't hold last week's result against Ipswich against the new manager. I get a feeling he's going to be very successful. I think we're going to see another foreign manager creating a very good side out of what used to be an excellent side. So, I've got no doubts. I don't suppose the fans or Amarin is remotely concerned about that result. Yeah, they want to win every time, like they all do. But I don't think it's an issue that he didn't win that first one. But I don't suppose it will take him long to impose his mark on the team. I get the feeling they respect him. They must respect him. He's obviously got a good track record. And I just have a feeling he'll do very well. I think they've made a good choice, the owners of Man U, in getting him. I do.
Yeah. Your thoughts on Paul Pogba, just for a minute?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Is he? What's happening with him?
Well,
have I missed something?
Yeah, his band's finished now, and Manchester United is thinking.
I see he's coming back, isn't he?
Yeah,
his ban was reduced, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was reduced.
Yeah.
So what? Yeah. Who is he? Who owns him now? Then what team?
He's a free agent.
Free agent, is he?
Yeah.
Are they talking of getting him back then at Man U?
Well, there is whispers, but not loud enough to be a rumor. So
I thought he was an excellent footballer. He really was. I think there were some issues with him, maybe more to do with off the pitch than on. Not that I can remember much about that, but I think if someone says Paul Pogba as you did, I think, wow, what a player. So that was my view of him. I think he was a very good footballer. So if as a free agent, I'm not sure they would take him back, because for a team to go back to someone, and I don't know what his age is, but he must be 30 plus, I would think, which in footballing terms is getting older.
Right.
But I wouldn't have thought Man United would be looking to turn the clock back. I wouldn't have thought so.
We'll just wait and see. Right, so this is all we've got time for. You've been listening and watching the Football Referee with myself, Emmy Hikins, and he calls me bruv.
And me, Trevor Gear, and I call him Cuz.
So it's a goodbye from me.
Cheerio, see you next time. Bye-bye.
Right. So see you all next time. Bye.
Femi and the ladies, Dr. Gladys and Phantom and Rose. We all have a lovely show every weekday. So join us for a lovely show.
Say hello to Phantom.